We've all been told the same story for years now, that the internet came along and killed the monoculture, that we all just shattered into millions of little personalized bubbles. But what if that whole story is a lie? What if the monoculture never actually died? What if it just became invisible? And in doing so, became more powerful than ever? Take a look at this number. 106 million. That's how many people tuned in to watch the finale of MASH all the way back in 1983. This was the absolute peak of the old visible monoculture. It was an appointment you just did not miss. I mean, think about that. For one single night, a huge slice of the entire country was focused on the exact same story at the exact same time. The next day, at work, at school, wherever, you had something to talk about with anyone. It was a kind of social glue built on a shared object. And the story we tell ourselves today is that all of that is gone. That streaming, social media, they just shattered that shared world into a million tiny pieces. From one giant audience to 106 million microcultures of one. Your Netflix queue is yours, my For You page is mine. It's all about personalization, right? Well, here's the twist. What if all that fragmentation, all that choice, is really just a distraction? What if the real monoculture today isn't about what we're all watching, but about how we're all watching? See, the monoculture didn't disappear. It just evolved. It stopped being about the shared content that TV shows, and it became about the shared behaviors that we all perform every single day. And this is the fundamental shift. It's no longer about everyone watching the same TV show. It's now about billions of us having the same set of reflexes, the same cognitive habits that are being trained into us by the platforms we use constantly. And when you lay it out like this, you really start to see how the new system works. The old way was obvious, right? It was controlled by a TV schedule you could see. But the new one, it's covert. It's run by invisible algorithms. And what makes it so much more powerful is that it feels intensely personal. And that feeling of personalization is the very thing that makes the underlying control so hard to spot. So how does this actually happen? I mean, how do billions of people, all with their own personalized feeds, end up behaving in the exact same way? Well, it's not some big coincidence. It's by design. Just think about it for a second. When Instagram rolled out Reels, or when YouTube launched Shorts, they weren't just copying TikTok's content. No, they were copying its mechanics. The vertical feed, the infinite scroll, the swipe. All of these platforms converged on the same architecture because it's the most effective one for capturing our behavior. When the tools are all identical, our behavior becomes identical too. So let's give these things a name. We'll call them platform primitives. And these aren't just features, okay? They are the absolute core building blocks of the interface, and they are specifically designed to train us, to mold our reflexes and our attention into something uniform, something a machine can easily read. And really, there are three main primitives that form the backbone of this whole behavioral monoculture: the infinite scroll, the swipe, and the like. Let's break each one down. First up, the infinite scroll. You can think of it as an engine that's built to just eliminate decision-making. By getting rid of the bottom of the page, that natural point where you have to stop and decide what to do next, it trains you for a state of passive consumption. It's designed to be completely frictionless, to lull you out of making active choices and into just going. Then you have swipe logic. And this is so much more than just a way to navigate. It's a training program for your brain. It forces you over and over to make instant binary judgments: good, bad, keep, discard. It's actually how you perform a kind of unpaid labor for the platforms, sorting through the messiness of human culture and turning it into clean, simple data the algorithm can understand. And this creates this perfect feedback loop. See, you train the algorithm with your swipes, and then the algorithm turns around and trains you by feeding you more content that fits into that simple, binary worldview it needs you to have. It's this weirdly symbiotic relationship where both you and the machine learn to simplify reality. And finally, there's the like. It's not just a button. It's a social validation engine that works exactly like a slot machine in Vegas. That unpredictable hit of dopamine you get from a like, it trains us to perform. We subconsciously learn to post things that are predictably likable, filtering out nuance or complexity because simple, predictable content is just easier for the system to categorize.
Okay, so this is where it all gets really, really critical. Because these digital habits, they don't just stay on the screen. They are bleeding through into the real world and they are fundamentally reshaping how we operate. Let's look at the consequences.
So let's start with that first behavior, the infinite scroll. We're being trained hour after hour for a state of constant, shallow consumption. And the real world result of that? A total collapse of our attentional fortitude. We spend our days practicing for a marathon of 10-second sprints. But the real world, deep work, meaningful relationships, solving complex problems, that stuff requires us to run long distance. We are systematically degrading our own ability to focus.
Now let's consider the consequence of the swipe, that relentless training in making split-second yes or no judgments.
The consequences is that we start applying swipe logic to everything. Resumes get reviewed in 6 seconds. Potential partners are dismissed in half a second. Complex people are quickly labeled boring or interesting. We're becoming socially impatient, finding ourselves less and less able to deal with the nuance and slow burns that define almost everything of real value in the analog world. So, if you pull all this together, what does it all mean? It means we really need to wake up from the core illusion of our digital age. The most dangerous illusion out there is this belief that having infinite content to choose from makes us free. Because in reality, while we're so busy choosing what to watch, the system is busy standardizing how we think. We are not being served by some digital butler. We are being managed inside a behavioral Skinner box. And that really gets to the heart of what's at stake. True autonomy, real freedom, isn't about picking another video from the feed. It's about recognizing the logic of the feed itself, the scroll, the swipe, the like, and holding on to the freedom to think and feel and act outside of that logic. So, I'll leave you with a challenge. Start looking for this in your own life, because once you see it, you really can't unsee it. So what's the most surprising, or maybe even the most disturbing example of swipe logic that you've noticed out there in the real world? Let us know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you come up with.